Hello.
Oh, get ready for some scary conversation. I've known of these two and known them for a few years now. Together, I think we have maybe almost 100 years of scaring people and also illuminating the human condition with danger and fear and talking about how we can overcome these things. So we're going to talk about some things that these guys have both done that have to do with the environment. And first of all, I have a question for Eli. For those of us who were not here last year, I know you're a board member here, can you explain a little bit about your mission for shark safety and finning and what we can do to stop these terrible practices?
Sure. Without going too much into it, I made a documentary. I spent 5 years making a doc called Fin about basically I'd gone diving with sharks and I couldn't believe how much they were like dogs, and they were intelligent and sensitive, and I started reading that we were killing 100 million a year, and it's actually closer to 270 million. And I really wanted to understand what the fuck are we just decimating our dinosaurs for, like why, and what is their function? So I went all around the world. I went on shark fishing boats, and basically it's money. I mean, they're completely inedible. The fins are toxic. It's like, it's all so horrible. And so, but look, I grew up with Jaws. I loved, Deep Blue Sea. I love shark horror movies, but I thought there's got to be some kind of counter narrative to it. And really, it started as a luxury item at weddings, and people eat it because it's expensive. But what you
the
can
shark
do,
fin soup,
the
right?
shark fin soup, which has no taste. It's used bleach to make it. It's all It's on the doc is on Max, and so you can see it. But it's But basically, I wanted to be the voice for the sharks. They have no vocal cords, and a lot of people feel that way too. And what you're seeing now is, look this summer, see how many beaches have toxic algae blooms. Basically, the sharks are like the doctors of the sea. What they do is that when one shark is there, everything's in check. And without the shark, you have too many grouper that eat the parrotfish, and the parrotfish eat the algae. So without the sharks, the algae blooms happen. And then the most recent discovery, there's a scientist that found that, they're finding that the best way to capture carbon is with seagrass. And in the Bahamas, it's a shark sanctuary. So what the seagrass does is it's trapping the carbon, but they realized that the best way to grow the seagrass is one tiger shark in the area. Because without the tiger sharks, the turtles eat the seagrass. So by accident, by protecting sharks, suddenly the seagrass popped up, and they realized this is the best way to trap carbon. So we have this crazy problem. So we don't even know what sharks can cure for us, but everyone thinks, well, I don't want to see them, they want to eat me. But they market it that way, so people are look, you follow Shark Allies and follow my Instagram. There are shark kill tournaments all summer up and down the East Coast right now. There's another one. So I'm going to start calling them out and going after the sponsors. There's the Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo in Alabama that's sponsored by Coke and iHeartRadio, killing great hammerheads. They're killing these beautiful creatures for prizes. So I tried to make that in the doc. I always try to put some kind of environmental message in my movie, but I'm very passionate about it.
I mean, I love your documentary, and I think that it has made some impact as far as less finning for the shark fin soup, from what I understand, like in Hong Kong especially.
Well, it's basically shut down a lot of the tournaments on the East Coast. It's woken people up about it, but right now there's too much money in the fishing industry. I mean, the Hong Kong people are trying to pass it in certain hotels. People say we won't go there if you serve the soup. And Maxine's restaurant stopped, which is a big chain there. They stopped the shark fin soup. But it's still bad. Everyone thinks, oh, the pandemic, it stopped. It's like, no, the Chinese fishing vessels went right in, and there was nobody to police them. Wow. So people are still buying it. So you have to say no sharks out of the water at all. Sharks are not our sport. They are not our entertainment. They're catch and release. Yeah. When you pull a hammerhead out of the stress hormone kills it. It sinks to the bottom. So this whole bullshit of catch and release, you're fucking killing animals. Like, how would you feel if you were dragged by a hook 35 miles an hour and then released and thrown back in from, like, most of the sharks die from catch and release. And even so, it's just fucked up. So it's people with small dicks on Facebook that want to look tough. Sorry, it is. And so you see these fucking losers on Facebook, and NOAA, who's supposed to be policing this, is Department of Commerce. They're completely fucking corrupt. They give this one guy, the tax man, NOAA gives him permits So he just goes in and kills all the fucking illegal sharks. And he's like, can't tax the tax man, motherfuckers.
Oh my
the whole
God.
NOAA board is completely corrupt. They're like giving out permits to their fishing buddies. So I started calling them out. So it's a huge problem.
It's a
But
huge
basically, it
problem.
just comes down to
Yeah.
money. If you drive the value to zero, people will stop, fishing them.
If you haven't watched the documentary yet, yeah. Thank you, Eli. Like, you're obviously really passionate about this, and we're lucky to have you. If you watch the documentary, at the end of it, there are a lot of organizations that you can follow. You can support them and write to them and talk to people.
Shark Allies right now is going to
Shark
the EU.
Allies,
Shark
yeah.
Allies is great. There's a band they're weighing the fin ban in the EU. If that domino falls, it'd be really helpful. But getting vocal and speaking out, and anytime you see shark fin soup, like they sell shark at Whole Foods. It's so fucked up.
That's
they don't
terrible.
test it.
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
they mislabel it. It's all in
Wow.
the doc. You can go there and be like, what the fuck, Publix? Like,
Yeah.
and you see it. And I see it at Farmers Market on Larchmont. I'm like, you're selling shark. They're like, it's not endangered. It's like, yeah, well, the fishing industry. Of
Well,
course
we
they're
have
not
to
gonna-
educate people
It's all
more.
endangered.
Yeah.
Populations are down 90%. Anyways.
Yeah.
So
Great.
it was like
thank
a
you,
real
Eli.
horror movie.
So, yeah. So for Issa, Issa, hello. Nice to see you again.
Hey, Lady Barbara. We go a long way, and
We
had
do.
a
We
lot
go
of
back.
tequila together. Yes.
We were on tour together with a movie a long time ago. 2 different movies, actually, but on the Film Fest tour. So, Issa, what attracted you to the idea of doing a season focused on mining in Alaska? And once you dove into that subject matter, did you discover things were even scarier than you imagined? And
Terrifying.
were you the one that came up with the idea for that season?
I was.
Mhm.
The
True
idea.
Detective Night Country. Sorry, you guys, if you didn't know.
I was during the middle of the pandemic, and I was losing my mind. I think like everybody else, and I decided to explore the idea of whodunit, a murder mystery, and I thought it would be fascinating to do it in the Arctic because it's such an extraterrestrial place with its very own peculiar rules and realities. And that was it. I put it aside. I had to deliver other projects, and then I got a call from HBO asking what would I do if they gave me True Detective, and I was like, funny because I love that first season, and I thought it was all about the Louisiana Bayou, and what would happen if you reverse it completely instead of trying to rehash it. So what could be further away than the icy Arctic and the long night? Instead of the sweaty maleness of that first season, I went into a very, very cold female, dark version of it. So that was it. It didn't come from the idea of exploring any environmental issues, but what I find over and over in my work is that I end up talking about it. Like it just comes true. So once I started to look at Alaska and explore where exactly this would take place, and it had to be the Northwest because that's where the long night exists. Turns out that every other community that I was studying was affected by the largest mining company in the continent. And it's a really complex relationship because on one hand, the mine finances the town. There's jobs, they finance hospitals, they finance schools in communities that have no other resource. But at the same time, the level of poisoning, and everybody's aware of it, is absolutely killing the caribou that they eat because getting Oreo cookies up there during the winter is sometimes impossible. Like you truly try to buy cookies for $20. So the communities have to hunt to survive. They do mix soda with caribou and seal and things that are consumed culturally, and it has decimated the population of these animals, and it has affected themselves and their health and their life expectancy. It's a very complex relationship. The Inuit that have become closer to the Western ways have adapted really well to the mine life. The ones that they call it the campers that live in the wilderness are suffering enormously and losing their traditions and their stories and their relationship with the earth. So I felt that there was the space to create something in this you know, dissonance between their spirit and their practical lives, and make the mind be the destroyer of future that it is, and play with the idea that there is a crime here, there's horror, there's things that are rotten, and it's deeply related with the rottenness that is put into the land.
Yeah, and the horror is ourselves. And like you guys were both saying, it's all about the money. Who makes the rules? It's the person with the most money. I don't know how we can change that, but we have to keep trying. You know?
Well, I think there's a whole generation of consumer out there that are forcing people to, perform more ethically. But I think, as you've seen, there's greenwashing and everything. I mean, there's now a whole branch of people that will just to put out information. I mean, at first, I loved, if you've ever seen Issa's film Tigers Are Not Afraid, it's really, really spectacular. It's this beautiful movie set in Mexico City. I loved it. It's one of those movies that you just like stops you in your tracks. It was this mix of Los Olvidados and City of God, but all of these kids in the inner city. Really, really beautiful film. But yeah, I think we all feel that. I mean, the great thing is it's a horror movie, and like that's what my passion is. I mean, when I tried to make Green Inferno, it was a movie about people that are kind of fake activism, wanting to save performative activism. It was actually about a bunch of Columbia students do performative activism. Shocking how that prediction turned out. Weirdly, shooting that oddly ahead of its accurate. But it's I think that people want to do the right thing, but they don't always want to change their lifestyle to do it. And they go,
That's a good
someone
point,
else
yeah.
will figure it out. So it's very hard to change habits, but they can be done. And I think, look, when you see even Dawn of the Dead or all those movies we grow up with, all the great, Guillermo del Toro's films, all of these films, there's something societal in them. When a movie catches something, in any of the movies, even if my last one was about greed or consumption, like whatever it is, there's great ways to sort of shoehorn the stuff. It's where you're telling a great detective, your classic detective murder mystery, solving it, but you're actually opening people's eyes to it. But it is hard because it does feel daunting because these are major corporations, and it's like they've got in there and institutionalized it. But it's like really the only way to vote is with your dollars and your voice. And it's like they now don't want to look bad. They're terrified of the mobs because the mobs can unite on social media.
Right.
So, kind of having those campaigns and using the voice is the first place to start.
Yeah, exactly. I had another question about True Detective, Night Country. The end of the show, Issa leaves viewers with a lot of questions about science and nature and cleaning ladies. It's provocative and open-ended. What are your personal beliefs on how humans and us as a species can learn to create progress through science and technology without harming the planet that we all live on? It's exactly what we're discussing right now. But what do you personally think we could do?
I think that there has to be, instead of doing fake activism, there has to be a harmony between the walk and the talk. And the stories that we tell, I think it's important because this is both a reflection of who we are and the seed of who we want to be. So we need to put that seed of a change in everything we do. And if you get yourself out of the way of the story, it will naturally go into the place that I call your soul agenda. If you decide to do it like a purpose, sometimes you get in the way of it, and egos and yourself and your own ego can get in the way. But if you move out and you portray a place or a situation or a character and you let it speak, the elements that surround us are going to come through.
Right.
And the same thing happened with Tigers, and the thing happened with Night Country. In the end, by looking at a place and letting it speak of itself will tell you the story that needs to be told.
Yeah, and about getting out of your comfort zone, like you guys were saying, and changing habits, and not going with what just has been demonstrated to us in the past. I mean, the world is changing, people are changing, the environment is in trouble, and we all need to get out of our own way. And the newness of what we can learn, it's just change, it's just different. You just have to get used to that.
I think in movies, sometimes you'll see a character do something, and go, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that." And I think there's ways to sneak it in. You got to like hide your vegetables in with the food. Like you can't force. Nobody wants to go to school when they see a movie. Certainly want to see. They want blood and they want guts and they want gore. But you can have the killer feed the cat for a minute, and everyone's like, "Oh, the killer's nice." They feed like you can do little things that people sort of using that inception to kind of fuck with people. And I think what I tell people is that change obviously doesn't happen. It's incremental. It's like my wife won't let me throw anything in the recycle unless I've really washed it because it's so like I didn't even know you were supposed to do that. And she's like, "Are you boomer? You blah, 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 blah." She's younger than me, so now I don't even think about it. And then she came and the idea of having a plastic water bottle in our house, it's like, why would you ever do that? And at first it was like, oh, you just get the water bottles. Oh, you recycle it. It's okay. It's like, no, I'm not. Like, and so now we don't even think about it. It's like we have glass bottles all over the house. We clean them. We do but it's just those little tiny changes. And I think that social media and the culture of showing off on social media and TikTok in the pandemic really fucked us in a number of ways. Fast fashion and thinking of what those doing in those factories. And there's a river in China. I mean, there's a city in China where people are blue. Like, I mean, it's like Smurf Village because of it's not funny. I mean, you can laugh, but it's.
You mean they're
like,
blue?
No,
What do you mean?
they're dyed because they dye the genes there. And it's in the river and it's in the soil and people are turning blue from it. And we don't think about that. It's like, and that's something that I want to put in a movie where I'm just like, I'm obsessed with this village. Or the Atacama Desert in Chile, where I went and I filmed and it was so beautiful, is now a dump. It's a landfill for all the fast fashion. So it's like trying to show a world where you can have a scene where it's like and there's stuff on YouTube where you see the mountains of clothing, where you see the city in China where people are turning, but where you're like, our actions of doing, here's my clothing haul on TikTok, it's actually being outsourced. Someone in a very poor part of the world is paying for that in a terrible way. So it's like, and we don't tie it together. And the people that are doing the hauls don't know that it's going to be a problem. So it's finding ways in a movie. You can put that in a horror movie somewhere, in a scene that you're not even expecting, where people are just like, wait, is that fucking real? And you plant that seed and they go, I'm not going to keep buying outfits that I wear once and show off on TikTok. I'm going to wear my clothes, and those are my clothes. Like, so it's incremental behavior.
It is incremental. Yeah, we have to keep focused on it. Are you on TikTok?
I am not.
Okay.
Because I'm.
We need you to do your stuff. Your stuff. What? You need to do your stick on TikTok.
It's so sad. You want to see like the old guy on TikTok?
We do. We want to.
It's like being an old guy at a club, being like, "Sup?" Doing the Running Man. It's
Yeah,
just
but
like,
you can fool us.
Let it go.
But you can-
Instagram, I'm already pushing it.
Yeah. Who's on TikTok here? I don't know. We're an older crowd, maybe, but yeah.
No, we get the kids on TikTok. They all want to help. And once
Yeah.
you point it out, people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that."
So,
It's not shaming people. I don't think that works. I think you got to find a way to inspire them and let them come to the conclusion themselves.
Right.
You can't go, "You're a bad
true.
person." They'll go, "Fuck off, Mr. Hollywood." You go, "No, you can.
Yeah.
We can all do better."
Okay, we've gone on so long that they've pivoted to the last question. So this is a question for both of you. What is the scariest thing right now facing our planet?
Inactivity. I think giving up and being sad about it and being depressed and being paralyzed and it's the easy way out.
It's inaction.
It's
maybe,
inaction.
yeah.
It's inaction. So the fight is hope, and hope requires action. So the passivity is what's going to undo us if we are not careful, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think that, and I think that there's there's unfortunately a huge ideological clash of people that do not share our values of respect and family and wanting to live. I think there's a whole section of the world that are like, oh, this is a 1,000-year war, we're just going to blow everything up. And I think that there's a way that propaganda is getting, I think people are dehumanizing each other, they're putting each other in categories, and I think it's going to take all of us holding on to our sanity and to help kind of fight what I sort of see as this kind of wave of people that just don't share our basic human values as a species. So that to me, I think is obviously going to have devastating effects on the climate, but I think just seeing people for people and keeping conversation open and entering when you meet someone that opposes you, going in with an open heart and really trying to have all of us having as much empathy as we can for what you see as the other side, and eventually you realize that we're kind of on the same side, want the same things.
Thank you both so much. This was a really wonderful
Thank you, Emma.
conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Asher and Debbie, for having us. We're honored
Thanks,
to be
Emma.
here. Thank you.